What's up, guys? Back with another edition of the Sports Rundown Radio. Joining us this week will be Ben and Caynan. Tyler is probably somewhere in a stand right now. So just going to be us three right now. Ben will be on the road as we film this, so he's heading back to the great state of Louisiana as we speak. So let's go ahead and jump right into the news. Starting off with the NFL, Jalen Ramsey, we saw in the last few weeks, he's been kind of making, I guess you could say, excuses as to not play with the Jaguars. And he's been wanting a trade. And finally, he gets traded to the Rams. So the Rams are now stacked on defense. They have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and other superstars on that defense. How do y'all feel about this Jalen Ramsey trade?
Well, I think it's a good move for Ramsey's career. He wasn't as happy as he could have been playing in Jacksonville. They've been struggling a little bit this year, with the loss of Nick Foles. Offense hasn't been clicking. They've been having to rely on Gardner Minshew a lot. Defense has been having to step up a lot. The offense hasn't been producing as well as they normally could. They've been relying on Leonard Fournette. Teams have been figuring out how to stop the run, therefore bringing the Jaguars offense to a screeching halt. But being put on this team with Aaron Donald, that's going to be a very tough duo looking into the NFC for the playoff run because Rams are struggling a little bit this season, but I'm pretty sure they'll bring it back up. They can make it to the playoffs. I know they have the potential, and I think it's going to be a good move for Jalen Ramsey in his career. Although the Rams did release Marcus Peters to make room for Jalen Ramsey, so they did take a little bit of a hit defensive-wise, but they bring in a better guy, a young guy like Jalen Ramsey, and I think he can help probably turn this defense around a lot.
Yeah, like Caynan was saying, talking about, Jalen Ramsey and his move. At the end of the day, it's about, sometimes it's about, your personal life and, like, you're happy with the team, but, sometimes it's about, the team and putting the team first. But the Jaguars have traded all 3 first-round picks to the Rams. Or no, let me rephrase that. The 3 first-round picks are now all on the Rams. So I find that really interesting to see.
Well, let me just rephrase that a little bit for you. 3 of the last first-round picks, not including this year, but 3 of the last first-round picks that the Jaguars have all been traded to the Rams. Dante Fowler, Jalen Ramsey, and Blake Bortles. They were all first-round picks by the Jags, and they all eventually got traded to the Rams. Is what Ben's trying to say. I was just trying to make it more say it. I guess you could say make it more clear. But yeah, Jaguars, it seemed like Jalen Ramsey was kind of their only hope. Even though I love Gardner Minshew, I love the stash, I love the energy he brings to the football field. It's just, I think the Rams might tank this year, get a first-round pick, and trade it away to the Rams. Is what it's looking like. So I guess we can go on to the next story. Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints has a slight injury. They're saying it's the knee and or ankle. But with Drew Brees out, he's been kind of carrying the team. Not kind of. He's been carrying the team on his back. Increasing that workload, getting the job done. And then we had an injury in the backfield as well. So they're working out a former Saint player, Tre'Davious Cadet. I know his last name's Cadet. I just don't know his first name. I believe it's Tre'Davious, or I can't pronounce it. Y'all wouldn't know?
I think it's Travaris. I believe. I remember him playing back around 2014 with the Saints.
But yeah, he's played with the Saints a couple of times. He's been traded away, came back. He's played with the Saints twice, and they're trying him out to fill in some of that depth at the backfield for the Saints. And Saints right now with Drew Brees out, they're number 3 in the power rankings. So, hopefully either Drew Brees can get back soon or Alvin Kamara can work through this injury. So, what do y'all think about Kamara being possibly out with this injury?
Well, they had him listed as questionable last week for the Jaguars game. We saw him; he did play a little bit, but I'm sure they don't want to continue to agitate that knee, ankle that's been bothering him for the past couple of weeks. But the thing is, with Kamara, if he does end up sitting out Sunday against the Bears, they're going to have to rely on the veteran Latavius Murray in the backfield. That's going to be their RB1 for the Bears game if Kamara does not play. He's still listed as questionable. They're trying to see if they can get him healthy before the game, but they're going to have to rely on Latavius Murray and Teddy Bridgewater to run that offense. And Teddy Bridgewater had a little bit of a slack-off game against the Jaguars. He had been performing very well for the past couple of weeks after the win against the Cowboys where we didn't even score a touchdown. He did come back and show us that he can perform well at the quarterback position. But what I'm seeing is we're going to probably end up having to rely on Murray a lot. I personally do not think Kamara's going to be available for Sunday's game. I feel like Sean Payton's going to take a step back and say, look, we don't want to agitate him even more than he already is, and we want to try to keep him healthy because right now the Saints are in a good spot to make the playoffs. They want to be able to have him later in the season. So, my opinion, if I was Sean Payton, sit Kamara. It's going to be a tough playing against that Bears defense. That Bears D-line is incredibly strong, so you would need a guy like Kamara. But this is not a must-win game right now for the Saints. Saints are in a great position. Like you mentioned, they're third in the power rankings. They are one of 5 teams who are one loss or undefeated teams. So right now, Saints are looking pretty. One loss isn't going to kill them, but I feel like Kamara's going to be out this Sunday.
Alrighty, so we'll go ahead. We mentioned the power rankings. We'll go ahead and go over the power rankings real quick. At the number 1 spot, you have the Patriots, who are 6-0. At the number 2 position, not the number 2 position, number 2 in the power rankings, you have the 49ers, who are also undefeated at 5-0. Then at number 3, you have the Saints, who are 5-1. Packers at number 4, who are 5-1. And at number 5, you have the Seahawks, who are 5-1.
One thing I do want to mention about the power rankings is, like I mentioned, there's I believe I said 5, but there's actually 6 1 or 0 loss teams left in the NFL. There are 4 teams that are ranked higher than the Buffalo Bills, despite them being 4-1. Buffalo Bills are currently ranked 10th, despite being 4-1, possibly because of the lack of the quality of teams they're playing. They've been playing kind of sloppy behind Josh Allen at that quarterback position. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the Bills might have got gypped there. I mean, they got teams ahead of them like the Texans, the Chiefs. I mean, naturally they have more star talent. But I kind of feel like the Bills might have got gypped. I mean, they've had some good wins. They've had some scrappy wins. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. And I think the Bills deserved a little bit better treatment on that. I believe they were ranked a little lower than they should have. I mean, put them at maybe 7. I believe that the Chiefs are probably better than the Bills despite their record. But, I feel like they didn't take into consideration enough about their record. The Bills haven't been good in a long time. If you remember back in the 90s, they lost 4 straight Super Bowls after being so dominant in the AFC. This is probably their first resurgence back to popularity in the New York area. There's 3 teams in New York. You got the Giants, Jets, and the Bills. And right now, both of the other 2 New York teams are struggling. So a lot of these people are turning towards the Bills as kind of a sign of hope for the New York area. So, that's my little take on the Bills right there.
Alrighty, that'll do it for the NFL. Next up, we'll have the MLB.
All right, guys, next up, we're moving on to the MLB. There are 3 teams remaining as I speak, as we're doing this podcast. And to be honest, the NL really got me, man. None of my picks were correct. I don't think anybody's picks were correct going into this. Looking at the NLCS, it was the Cardinals versus the Washington Nationals. Nationals, of course, beating the Dodgers and the Braves losing out to the Cardinals. That really kind of threw off the whole playoff picture for the NL. But we see the Nationals and the NLCS came in and swept the Cardinals in 4 games to make it to their first ever World Series. And I'd hate to be Bryce Harper right now if I want to tell you. The year after he leaves the team, first full season after leaving the team, the Nationals end up going to the World Series. And they're looking very strong right now. Got a very good lineup, very good bullpen, decent starting rotation behind Scherzer and Strasburg, and blanking on his name right now. Dang it. Anibal Sanchez, that's who it is. There we go. Those top 3 starters are going to be crucial to the national success possibly in the World Series. If we move on to the American League right now, we see the Astros and the Yankees. Currently, as we're doing the podcast, Astros have a 2-1 series lead, playing Game 4 in New York. But there's a bit of a controversy behind this Game 4. It was originally scheduled for Wednesday night, but Yankees coach Aaron Boone decided to push it back because of weather. And that's going to be a bit of a struggle for the Yankees because their bullpen is their strong point. Their starters have been weak so far this season. And if this series goes to 7 games, that'll mean these 2 teams will be playing 4 days in a row. They'll be playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if it goes to 7. And if that's the way it is, Astros have a huge advantage because that bullpen is going to be on so little rest. We see Astros starters going very deep into ball games. You see them going 6, 7, sometimes even 8. Guys like Garrett Cole, who are very, very efficient on pitch count. And that is going to be where I think the Astros have the edge. And I know I did call the Astros going right now. They do have a lead on the Yankees as we're doing this. I believe it's 3-1. So Astros looking to take that 3-1 lead and meet up again in the World Series with a new opponent, the Washington Nationals. And if they do go, I believe it's going to be the Astros winning their second title in 3 years.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out, you're talking about Bryce Harper not wanting, feeling very kind of bad right now. Well, if y'all remember when he first signed with Philly, in the press conference, he said, can't wait to bring a title back to DC. He said DC, but the Philly's in Philadelphia, so they're not in DC. He was referring to the Nationals. I think he kind of spoke it into existence right there. I think karma got the best of him. It's kind of funny because it's been going around Twitter. The Bryce Harper meme of can't wait to bring a World Series title back to DC. And it's coming full circle, and I think it's kind of funny. But that's all y'all have to say. I think that'll do it for the MLB. And next up, we'll have the NBA.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to the NBA. Big controversy, not just in the world of sports, but in the political world. Right now, there's been a lot of controversy over a tweet made by an executive of the Houston Rockets organization, Daryl Morey, made a tweet referring to the freedom of Hong Kong, which is a territory owned by China. They're currently rebelling over there. They are wanting to have democratic authority. They want to have a freely elected president. However, because of China's communist rule and that they are owned by China, they're still under the dictatorship of the Chinese president, if you could call him that. So that tweet received a lot of hate due to the fact that there's a lot of NBA fans in China. And so he received a lot of hate from the Chinese people, from a lot of the fans of the NBA, and he eventually removed the tweet. However, now LeBron James, undoubtedly the face of the NBA, has stepped in and had his own say on this whole China deal. He was talking about how freedom of speech is something that the NBA cherishes. They like to push it. They like to have their players be able to have a voice and speak out on what they believe in. But LeBron has taken that to another step and said that free speech is good sometimes when it's not offensive to people, which in a sense is it's a good standard to live by. But he also mentioned that he was personally for everything that China is for. Now, when you think about that, he could have misspoke, but if he is for everything China is for, that means he is for communism, if we're thinking about it. I'm not calling LeBron a communist, but I think that he might have been possibly uninformed on the situation in China about everything going on. I know he's focusing completely on basketball right now. Uh, but honestly, I feel like if you're an athlete or a celebrity, actor, singer, please talk about what you specialize in, because sometimes, not all the times, these celebrities don't know the full story because they're working so hard at whatever they're doing, whether it be a sport or a movie or they're on tour. I just feel like my personal opinion is that they should stick to what they know best, uh, because we live in a country where people believe anything celebrities will say. Uh, Anything a celebrity puts out there, people want to emulate those celebrities. So they're going to listen to these celebrities and believe everything they say. Uh, but LeBron is receiving a lot of backlash for his comments about China. Um, and that's pretty much the whole story on that one. It's kind of all a gray area right now. A lot's happening. LeBron did end up coming and doubling down, saying that he meant what he said in that press conference. So, not really sure what's really going on, what's going to happen between LeBron James and China and the NBA. But the NBA does fear that they will lose hundreds of millions of dollars based on the tweet from Daryl Morey, due to the fact that it will reduce fan viewership in China and sales of NBA merchandise to China, which could in turn result in a salary cut for a lot of these players, or a reduction in salary cap for teams in the next couple of seasons. So I know a lot of NBA players aren't too happy about that, which is why a lot of them have decided to sort of back China. NBA is a very heavily money-based league. They have some of the highest salaries of any sports team in the world. But yeah, there's been a lot of controversy between not only LeBron James, but the NBA and China and the American government saying that they should not be fully supporting China based on what all they're doing in their communist country.
Yeah, kind of, like you said, it's a gray area right now. In all professional sports leagues, where you like it or not, it's money. You can even go back to the Colin Kaepernick situation. They lost viewership, so they cut Colin Kaepernick. That's why no teams are bringing him back. It's not because he doesn't have the talent. Don't get me wrong; he's an amazing quarterback. It's they don't want to lose money. Those teams don't want to lose money. The NBA right now is in a tough situation because they don't want to lose money, but they also don't want to come out and say we fully support a communist country because, again, this is, um, America, and we did fight the Cold War, basically democracy versus communism, and it's just kind of one of those things that it's a gray area, and depending upon which side they go on, it's going to have a lot of backlash either way. Um, same thing with any. I guess you could say, like you were talking about, how any celebrity, how any singer songwriter, any uh, athlete, actor, actress, if they say anything political, um, it seems to backfire on whoever it is, because no matter whatever you say is right, whatever you say is wrong, there's always going to be two sides of the story. There's going to be the ones who are for it and the ones who are against it. And depending upon the numbers, you may lose a lot of money about it, saying it. And I think right now the NBA is in between a very hard place and a rock, because I feel like the NBA doesn't want to fully come out and say, we fully support China and everything it does, because you're based in America. Yeah, you have a lot of money in China, not only from you know views, sales, and everything, but if you think about it, a lot of their manufacturing comes from China, you know. Um, so it just either way they go for it, either which way they side, it's gonna hurt the NBA. So I
Yeah,
mean that's basically what kind of breaking it down. Either way they go, either way they side, it's gonna hurt the NBA.
it's similar, and I apologize for making this like a giant political thing. We're very sports based, but this is just such a huge topic right now. But either way they go, like same with celebrities, you're if you support one side, you're gonna really make the other side very angry, and you're gonna lose support, fans. I know a lot of celebrities who come out with their political views and make them public. They tend to lose a lot of support from some of their fans, which in turn will uh, cause a loss in money possibly for their movies in the future due to a lack of popularity by the American people or just fans worldwide of certain actors. But I mean, the NBA, like you said, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. It it's really bad that they didn't stay neutral, which I think it was. I mean, good on Daryl Morey for sharing his beliefs, but it was kind of at a bad timing. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of controversy just between China and the United States recently, with Donald Trump as president. Relations aren't really too good between the U.S. and China, so it's really kind of bad timing to come out and start controversy like this that could possibly really reduce the amount of money that your league makes.
Alrighty, so we'll get off this political topic. Um, but staying with the NBA, next question, kind of a debate thing. Will Zion be able to remain healthy?
Uh,
Y'all's opinions.
Probably not. I'm a huge Zion fan. I bought one of his jerseys not too long after we drafted him. We being the Pelicans. Uh, but looking back, since him being a Pelican, he played 10 minutes in the summer league and got injured. Sat out the entire summer league. He played the first 4 games of the preseason. He will miss this Friday's game against the Knicks with a right knee soreness. So already, it's not even the season hasn't even started yet. He's already had 2 injuries. Now, taken for granted that his first injury was a bruised right knee, and they just wanted to keep him healthy to make sure he would be available for the season. So it was just a very standard precaution. But it's not looking like he's going to be able to perform well. I mean, he is like, I believe 6'6", 280. That's huge. He is massive. He is almost pure muscle. I mean, the guy is insanely huge. I don't know if his body's going to be able to take the pressures, the factors that go along with being in the NBA. You see a lot of these guys are very lean. Most big men are taller than Zion. He's a very short big man. If he's going to be playing power forward this season, the average power forward is usually around 6'8", 6'9". And they usually weigh a little bit less than 280, which is what Zion weighs. So we're going to see how his body can adjust to the size of the NBA, because they got a lot of bigger players in the NBA than they did in college. But I mean, the guy's only 19 years old. He's going to be playing with a lot of bigger, stronger players, and I just don't think. I think his legs are going to kill him. I mean, his legs are going to be holding up that weight, and if he's going to be dunking a lot, dropping off that rim is going to be very detrimental to the health of his knees, his legs, his ankles, whatever. But I believe if he can keep his bottom half healthy and in shape, he could have a good career. But as of right now, he's had 2 knee issues, and the Pelicans haven't even had the opening tip-off yet for opening night. So, in my opinion, Zion will probably not stay healthy for the majority of his career. And I hate to say it, but if he can't stay healthy, the Pelicans can't make the playoffs this year. And that's just going to be straight up. That's that.
Yeah, I want to elaborate on what you were saying. Zion is 6'6". He is 286 pounds, 285, 286. Okay. Now, the heaviest player is Boban Marjanovic, I think.
Marjanovic, yeah.
Yeah. He I think he's at like 290, 295. But Boban is tall. He is 7'2", 7'3". His frame can support that. Zion's frame, I'm afraid to say it, cannot hold 285 pounds. While it is muscle, a lot of it's muscle. Don't get me wrong. He's a big guy. Um, but it's muscle. A lot of it's muscle. But and you can say, okay, well, you look back at his days at Duke. He had that scary injury, but that was just saying, okay, wait, because we all knew he was going to be a one and done. Everybody in their mama, if you didn't know sports, knew that Zion was going to be one and done. And he had that injury, so they just kind of were like, okay, well, let's sit him out and wait till the draft. You say what you want, but definitely his agent, his parents, and the teams that had the number one pick were saying, sit him out. And then you can go into the summer league where he got injured. Then you can go into the preseason where he got injured. It's just his frame cannot support his style of play. You think of Zion as a good dunker and everything, but he's going to drive into the paint. He's going to manhandle you. He's going to get the job done and shoot basically under the goal. We talked about it last week where he was like 12 for 13, but a shot wasn't made from 5 feet out of the goal. He's going to shoot in the paint, and he's going to get the job done in the paint. But the speed and the pace and the athleticism in the NBA is 10 times different. Also, is much longer than a college season. So, will Zion be able to remain healthy? I'm going to agree with Caynan. I don't think so. I believe he will be one of these players we talk about that, it's going to be, he had such a promising career, got plagued with injury. Or if he can lose weight, he can be the next Charles Barkley, because that's who I consider, a Hall of Famer his style of play kind of resembles. He's a smaller power forward. He gets the job done. I'm talking about Charles Barkley, by the way. He was a smaller power forward. He got rebounds. He rebounded everybody, and he stayed healthy because of his size. So we just got to see that. I mean, that's the only thing you really can do is just see what happens. Hope for the best as Pelicans fans, and hope the best for Zion.
Yeah, and we're talking about him staying injured and being one of those guys who could have a promising career. When you mention that, I think of a guy like Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose came in, won his Rookie of the Year. I believe he's the only rookie to ever win MVP. Not saying Zion's going to come out and win MVP, but Derrick Rose had a very early-ish into his career. I believe he played about 6 or 7 seasons before his prime started to pass him up due to his knee injuries. And that's the future I'm seeing for Zion. I'm seeing having a good couple of first years, being very dominant, but just can't stay healthy, and it's going to end up costing him his career just basically because of his body size.
Alrighty, so we talked about Zion, but another promising player, Jaylen Brown, he turned down a 4-year, $80 million contract from the Celtics. He will move into the free agency. He wasn't really a star there. He was kind of a man off the bench. He's a really good player, and I hope to see what he can do in the free agency. All righty. So that'll do it for the NBA. Up next, we'll have the NCAA. Starting off with the NCAA, home state, home team, LSU jumps to number 2 in the polls after beating Florida 42-28. By the way, Florida at the time was number 5. We've also beat the number
Uh,
17.
no, Florida was number 7. We were number 5.
Sorry, we were number 5. Florida was number 7. That's 2 top 10 teams we've beaten this year, and I'm surprised we're in the number 2 spot. Is what I'm gonna say. I wish we were in the number 1 spot with Joe Burrow, who is currently the front runner for the Heisman. He's leading us. Also, our defense isn't doing too hot, but they did step up big versus Florida. You see 28 points, but they got the job done pretty much. They held him enough to where the offense can flourish. And I mean, that's pretty much all there is. Caynan,
I
what
mean,
you got to say about
yeah,
this?
if you look at the defense, LSU, we went into halftime tied at 21. LSU's defense only gave up 7 points in the entire second half, and that was on the Florida's opening drive. They did receive the second half kickoff, went down, drove, and took the lead, which was their only lead of the ball game. So we saw LSU's defense step up following that first touchdown allowed in the second half. They did come up with an interception. Would have had a second one, but it ended up being overturned. And we saw on the last play they came up with a huge fourth down stop. 4th and goal from, I believe, the 2 or the 3 yard line that sealed the win for LSU. So we see Joe Burrow didn't have one of his normal Joe Burrow, I'll toss for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns day. He only had 3 touchdowns, had about 296 yards, and LSU relied on the ground game a lot more. Edwards-Helaire, I believe, had 2 touchdowns, and the freshman Tyrion Davis-Price had a 33-yard touchdown run. So we see LSU showing that running side. I believe they gained over 200 yards on the ground, solely based on the 3 different running backs they used that game. So LSU's spreading that offense out a little bit more. They knew they were going to have to with Florida's ball hawk corners and safeties. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the offensive coordinator, Steve Ensminger, combining with Joe Brady, formerly a New Orleans Saints coach. So I think LSU's destined for greatness this year. They will be playing Mississippi State this weekend, and they will be playing 2 more top-ranked teams. Auburn, I believe, is now 11th. They were 9, and they will also be playing number 1 Alabama later in the season. So LSU's got a very tough schedule. I believe they can go 1 loss or undefeated this season, hopefully, being a Tiger fan. But I'm excited to see where Joe Burrow takes the Tigers this season.
Yeah, talking about, the SEC and a tough schedule, Georgia, who was formerly number 3, loses to unranked South Carolina in double overtime on a field goal. Basically what happened is Georgia missed the field goal to win it in the first overtime. South Carolina got the ball back and ended up
No.
scoring.
Actually, Georgia threw an interception in the first overtime.
Okay,
When South Carolina got the ball back, their kicker ended up missing a chip shot field goal for the win. So then following in double overtime, South Carolina's kicker came up big, kicked the field goal, and when Georgia got the ball the second time, their kicker, the reliable Rodrigo Blankenship, missed I believe a 44-yard field goal. What?
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of a meme. I'm sorry, but yeah, so also Clemson dropped to number 4. Thank the Lord, because they don't deserve number 4 either. But they had a dominating win, but look who they're playing, and so we're not going to get into that again because we're going to have to cut all that footage like we did last time. But that'll do it for the Sports Rundown Radio. Big thanks to Caynan for helping. Big thanks to Ben for just being here, helping editing all of our videos. Also, big thanks to Philip. He was supposed to be on the podcast tonight, but things happen. We understand. Not really, but, things do happen. But big thanks to Philip for running all of our social media and things like that. Also, big thanks to Tyler who usually joins us. Hopefully, he got a big deer tonight. So, for Caynan, for Ben, for Chandler, we'll see y'all next time.